So the 2024 season has officially ended and the offseason begins, meaning today I will be dropping my very first 7-round mock draft for our Las Vegas Raiders. I promised you guys this after the season was going to be over, so I did my due diligence and did a mock draft. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know a lot of people are going to complain about this, so you guys definitely grade my draft after I let you guys know all the players that I end up picking. But going into this draft, I already have the Raiders basically solidifying the quarterback position in free agency, whether we go out and get Sam Darnold, whether we bring in Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, whether we go out and get Justin Fields, whoever it is. I just basically based our draft on already having a quarterback in place for this upcoming season. But with that being said, I know a lot of people were so opposed with Aaron Rodgers yesterday, but one guy that wasn't opposed to him was Max Crosby.
But Rodgers, who gives? If you have an opportunity to win in Minnesota,
or he needs to come to Vegas, suck it.
Never know. Never know. Shit, if we got him, I wouldn't be mad.
Then again, knowing Max, I don't think he would mind anybody coming over here as long as we go out there and win games. Now, I also put into account that the Raiders do bring back Trayvon Merrick in free agency because he's going to be a really big key piece for this team moving forward, and possibly finding somebody that could partner up with him that can complement him on the field in the draft. So with all that taken into account, I look at this draft as the draft that's going to lay the foundation for this team, for this Raiders dynasty moving forward. We're going to be bringing in all the best players that we can, draft the best player available, and start building this team around the quarterback position to where we eventually find the quarterback of the future. So with that said, if this is the very first time you come across this channel and you love daily Raider content, then hit that subscribe button, hit that notification icon button to notify you guys when I upload more videos just like this. With that being said, let's get started with the mock draft. With the 6th overall pick in the NFL draft, I have the Raiders solidifying our wide receiver 1 for the future, drafting Tetairoa McMillan, aka T-Mac, out of Arizona. I don't know whether or not the Raiders are going to address the wide receiver position in free agency, whether or not they go out and pay somebody big money to come in over here. But if we're sitting here at number 6 and the 2 quarterbacks get taken off the board, and if Abdul Carter is taken off the board, I feel like we could address our wide receiver of the future at this position, and T-Mac is that guy. Not only is he a great wide receiver and most likely the number 1 wide receiver in this year's draft, but my O's is Paulie, so I'm a little bit biased towards that. Now, T-Mac is a physical receiver, 6'5", 212 pounds, broke school records last year with 84 receptions, 1,319 yards, 8 touchdowns. Even with his size, he's a versatile wide receiver and a great route runner, and I feel like would be a perfect fit in the wide receiver room to be our wide receiver 1 moving forward, and could be the long-term answer that we've been looking for at that position. We've already got great receiving options over here in Las Vegas with Brock Bowers, having Jacoby Myers here, Trey Tucker. The list goes on, and I feel like the Raiders can also go out in free agency and bring in some more key players to come over here. But if we're looking for a solidified number 1, then I feel like T-Mac could be that guy. T-Mac's unique size, reliable hands, and versatile route running allows him to create mismatches in nearly every formation. For the Raiders, who are looking to bolster their receiving depth with a player capable of stretching the defenses and winning contested balls, he represents exactly the type of high upside talent that can elevate the passing game immediately while growing into a long-term asset. Overall, McMillan's profile aligns perfectly with the Raiders' needs, a big polished receiver who can serve both as a deep threat and a possession asset, making him a strong candidate to help jumpstart the Raiders' offensive resurgence. Now, when I look at T-Mac, he reminds me so much of Mike Evans, and even though that might be, the most cliche player to compare him to, I think that he could be the next Mike Evans. If not, I've seen him being compared to Drake London, and even at that, I don't think that would be a bad decision for the Raiders at number 6. Now, moving on to the 2nd round with the 37th overall pick, I have the Raiders addressing the defensive side of the ball in the secondary, safety Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. Now, I know this is a position that a lot of people start drafting quarterbacks, but with us already addressing that need in free agency, I feel like the Raiders can wait just a little bit longer to go out and get their quarterback. So at this position, bringing in a guy to help the secondary out to be a complementary piece alongside of Trayvon Merrick, I think Xavier Watts would be a perfect pick here in the 2nd round. In 2024, he's had a total of 83 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 6 interceptions, 9 pass deflections. He was a former wide receiver, so he knows what to look out for when defending the pass. Watts is a physical tackler at the point of attack. He's a physical safety and plays with a high motor. He has an aggressive play style and is great against the run. And like I said before, I feel like would be a perfect pairing alongside of Trayvon Merrick, and kind of reminds me of, the Seahawks, Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor. If we can somewhat duplicate replicate that over here in Las Vegas with Trayvon Merrick and Xavier Watts in the secondary. Ooh-wee.
My neck and my back.
Now, Xavier Watts' high football IQ, plus his aggressive playmaking and versatile coverage skills, makes him a great fit for our Raiders. His unique background as a former receiver enhances his ability to read offenses, while his physicality and instincts ensure that he can make game-changing plays. For a Raiders team that values versatility and wants a safety that can adapt to multiple roles in the secondary, Xavier Watts offers exactly that, a dynamic playmaking presence who can help elevate the unit immediately. My player comp for Xavier Watts is Landon Collins. Now we move on to the third round of the NFL draft. Now we got 2 picks in the third round, and with the very first pick, with the 68th pick overall, I have the Raiders addressing the running back position, drafting TreVeyon Henderson out of Ohio State. Now Henderson is one of those dynamic, explosive running backs that the Raiders could definitely use in the backfield. Last year in 2024, he shared the backfield with Quinshawn Junkins, running for 925 yards, averaging 7.3 yards per carry, while also scoring 10 touchdowns. He also had 26 receptions for 209 yards. Henderson has that breakaway speed for big runs and is a back that can take one to the house. He's a patient runner with good vision and has a good change of direction. Not only that, TreVeyon Henderson is a solid pass catching option for any quarterback in the backfield and is also a solid pass protector. Now, even though Henderson had dealt with his injuries in the past, when he's on the field, he's a different beast. Henderson offers a home run threat that could elevate the Raiders' overall offensive output in a system that values both efficiency and short yardage situations and ability to hit the pay dirt on any given play. Henderson's skill set is highly appealing for the Raiders. So with all that being said, with the Raiders really needing a running back, a number 1 running back moving forward, and the fact that right now the Raiders don't have that on the roster, I know we have Zamir White, I know we have Dylan Laube, but we need that number 1 guy that could take over in the future. And this being a draft class that is filled with a lot of great running back talent, if the Raiders are able to bring TreVeyon Henderson over here to Las Vegas, I believe that he could be our RB1 for the future, especially with the skill set he does provide. He will take a lot of the load off of the quarterback position. My pro comparison for TreVeyon Henderson is Chase Brown. Now with the second pick in the third round, with the 73rd overall pick, I have the Raiders finally addressing the quarterback position, drafting Will Howard out of Ohio State. Now, I know that everybody has been so gung-ho about Jackson Dart, even getting guys in the first round like Shedeur Sanders or even Cam Ward. But if the Raiders aren't able to get those top 2 guys, and if Jackson Dart doesn't fall to the second round, there's a high possibility that Jackson Dart and even Jalen Moreau could get picked up in the end of the first round, maybe even the second round as well, leaving the Raiders to wait a little bit and get their quarterback. And I feel like in the third round, this will be a perfect position for the team. Not only is Will Howard a quarterback that has done it all at the collegiate level, he just won a national championship with the Ohio State, and he has proved a lot of people that he can get it done. And I don't know why a lot of people weren't talking about Will Howard before. I wasn't talking about him, so I'm not going to act like I was. But with the hiring of Chip Kelly, you know, coming over here from Ohio State, being our offense coordinator, I just felt like it would make a lot of sense for the Raiders to draft Will Howard and bring him over here to Las Vegas, because Will Howard could be a quarterback that could sit down for a year, maybe 2 years under a veteran quarterback, under a bridge quarterback, whoever that may be. Like I said, in free agency, Will Howard has all the tools, has everything that you can ask for a quarterback. And with his size standing at 6'4", 237 pounds, he's the prototypical quarterback that you can want. Howard not only has the size, but he has that pocket mobility and could serve as a dual threat quarterback, extending plays. And that's something that I've been talking about for so long. We haven't had a dual threat quarterback, somebody that could get it done with his legs as well as his arms. Howard also has great accuracy with the short throws and even medium throws. And in the college football playoffs this past season, Howard went off, showing his leadership amongst the team, leading that team to a national championship. And throughout the whole college football players playing against Texas, Oregon, he showed that he has that mental toughness and was nearly perfect in the playoffs, showing that elite accuracy as well. And on top of all of that, the fact that he gets to come over here and reunite with Chip Kelly just would make his whole NFL transition that much smoother. But I know even after the whole college football playoffs, he's been getting a lot of love all over the place, even amongst the media. And Pat McAfee had a lot of things to say, a lot of good things to say about Will Howard.
Everybody's talking about Shedeur, Jalen Milroe. Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward. Nobody's talking about Will Howard.
Nope.
Except for us. And I didn't talk about Will Howard all year. I like this guy. I like him a lot. They're talking about this quarterback draft class not being great, and then they're not mentioning this guy's name. Doesn't make sense to me, but you did your mock draft, got him in the 4th round. I think Mel Kiper's projecting him to be in the 4th round. I am baffled by that, especially with what he's been doing on the biggest stages that you can get in college ball, in the history of college ball. I think Will Howard deserves a lot more respect.
And he makes a lot of good points. So if I'm looking at a quarterback that could come over here and they could sit down and could possibly be the franchise quarterback for the Raiders moving forward, with all the traits to be a great, maybe an elite quarterback for the future, I think the Raiders should definitely take a shot at Will Howard. Now, my pro comparison for Will Howard would be Justin Herbert. But if you were to ask our offense coordinator, Chip Kelly, he would compare him to Josh Allen. Now, he did say this about Howard before, saying that he can challenge the defense. I talked to Jimmy Knowles. When you have somebody who can be a dual threat, that's a really tough thing to defend. We know how fast Will is. It's not like if he runs, it's a 6-yard gain. If he takes off, it could be a 60-yard gain. He had some really big runs in his career so far. That's just another tool in your toolbox. Will is probably more of a Josh Allen because he's a bigger guy. It adds dimension to your offense. Now, that didn't come out of my mouth, but Chip Kelly, our new OC, has a lot of high praise and looks at Will Howard much higher than anybody else. So, hey, I think if the ceiling is Josh Allen and the floor is Justin Herbert, I don't think that the Raiders could go wrong with this decision. Now, in the 4th round with the 107th overall pick, I have the Raiders selecting cornerback Kobe Bryant out of Kansas. Now, knowing the Raiders, cornerback is going to be a really big position of need for the Raiders in the offseason, whether we address it in the draft or free agency. So sitting here at this position, seeing Kobe Bryant still available, I had to get him. He's been a guy that's been shooting up the draft boards as of late and was definitely a standout at the Shrine Bowl. Now, I know that the biggest knock on him is his thin frame, standing at 5'10", 170 pounds, but he plays bigger than his size. He's a physical cornerback that can cover primarily any wide receiver out there. And if there's anything that I really like about this guy, is the fact that he brings a lot of energy to the defensive back position. He stays chirping on the field and he'll definitely let you know what's up. So I could definitely see that translating to the NFL with all the trash talk. I just hope that he backs it up. And this kind of reminds me more of Richard Sherman coming into the league, somebody that just could not shut up on the field. But the thing for Richard Sherman was the fact that he was able to back up all of his talk with the way he played. So if Kobe Bryant can come over here and be that same kind of guy, I think that he'd be a solid fit for this Raiders defense. So with Kobe Bryant's combination of size, speed, and coverage instincts, it makes him a natural fit for the Raiders defense. On top of that, like I said before, even with that thin frame, he's not afraid to get dirty and tackle, because he doesn't miss a lot of tackles out there, and that's something that the Raiders can definitely use out there on the defensive side of the ball. My pro comparison for Kobe Bryant is Tariq Castro Fields. Moving on to the 5th round with the 144th pick overall, I have the Raiders selecting wide receiver Jalen Noel out of Ohio State. Now, I know what you guys might say. Well, another wide receiver? Yes, I believe that we need as many receiving weapons as we can get in this year's draft, and there's a lot of solid wide receivers out there. I know we added T-Mac, but it doesn't hurt to add a little bit more. Now, Jalen Noel really stood out a lot at the Senior Bowl, really showed his great route running out there, but you know, with his versatility and his quickness, man, it makes him an attractive prospect as a slot receiver for the Raiders. In an offense that values quick, timing-based passes and ability to create space in the middle of the field, Noel's strengths allow him to serve as a reliable complementary weapon alongside established receivers that we already have on the roster today. My pro comparison for Jalen Noel would be Christian Kirk. Moving on to the 6th round, the Raiders have 3 different picks. So with the 182nd overall pick, I have the Raiders addressing the offensive line with offensive tackle Jack Nelson out of Wisconsin. Now, Nelson, I would say, is a solid offensive tackle, somebody that could add depth to a position of need and could possibly carve out a position as maybe a backup tackle or maybe a starting tackle, depending on how well he does in the NFL. Now, with his size, athleticism, and his polished blocking skills, he aligns perfectly with the Raiders' current needs at the position. His ability to constantly handle both the run and pass protection should help improve the overall efficiency of the offensive line. I'm not going to lie, I just drafted him because we definitely needed somebody on the offensive line. And if I had to give him a pro comp, it would be Blake Freeland. With the 214th overall pick, I have the Raiders selecting safety R.J. Mickens out of Clemson. Now, Mickens is a versatile DB with good football IQ and adds more depth to the safety position that we already do need. Now, I don't know if the Raiders are going to bring back Marcus Epps and Trayvon Merrick both together, but I know for a fact we're going to need somebody that could come in and at least provide some kind of depth. So with Mickens' ability to read plays, break up passes, and make plays on the ball would provide some stability and versatility to the DB room. He's proven to have some high production over there in a big program like Clemson, so he should have no problems adapting to the league. Now, with the last pick in the 6th round, with the 218th overall pick, I have the Raiders selecting defensive tackle Simeon Barrow out of Miami. Barrow posted a solid 7 sacks and 32 total pressures in 2024 to go with 12 run stops and 8 tackles for loss or no gain. Barrow is great against the run, and I believe just adds more depth to the defensive line that we already do need. And with that said, with the last pick of the Raiders mock draft in the 7th round with the 224th overall pick, I have the Raiders selecting running back Donovan Edwards. Now, I know you guys might be wondering why we need another running back. I just feel like right now it wouldn't hurt to add another running back like we did with the wide receiver position. If we can hit with one of these guys or maybe both of these guys, it would be really, really huge for the running back room. Now, Donovan Edwards was one guy that could have easily been in the top 50 picks depending on how the 2024 season went, but he didn't really live up to the hype and his stock slowly has been going down from there. Now, there are some positives for Edwards. You know, he has that breakaway speed, he has that quick feet, he's an agile runner and is solid in the pass game. But one thing he does struggle a lot with that he will hopefully fix in the NFL would be his vision. He struggles a lot with his vision and finding the right gaps to run through, but I don't think it would hurt to add another running back to the roster already. So with that said, Raider Nation, man, let me know what you guys think about my 7-round mock draft. What grade would you give it? Tell me how bad it was, or maybe tell me if it was somewhat solid, man. That would be nice. That would definitely be nice. Overall, like I said, let me know your thoughts on everything down in the comments below. Until the next one, this is your boy Some More Raider, and your boy is yeah.